Celtics Roundtable here, and we are asking the question, where does Al Horford rank among centers in the NBA? So we're going to throw this first. Jared Weiss is going to think a little bit about this and give you his answer. Jared, where do you have Al Horford?
I'm totally not Googling best centers in the NBA, so I can.
Yeah, I totally didn't do that either at all.
All right, well let's do a little bit better or worse. So how about the like DeAndre Jordan, Steven Adams?
He's better than those.
Andre Drummond type centers.
Steven Adams is in my top 7, but he's better than all those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely put him ahead of those guys. No question about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's make it interesting. How about Karl Towns and Nikola Jokic? I'm kind of grouping them together.
Better than Jokic.
That's where it gets really tough. So, I mean, I think it's better to start from the top. So, if you start from the top, who's your number 1 center in the NBA? Is it Joel Embiid at this point?
I count Anthony Davis.
Okay, which I'm fine with. So, Davis, then Embiid?
Yes.
I would probably have Cousins next, but that's kind of a weird.
I'm with you on that.
But
I would take Horford over Cousins, personally.
Okay. So why? Because that's I'm on the fence about that, but I want to hear your thoughts.
So I think whatever advantages Cousins has offensively, I think those are fairly substantial. I think Horford offers so much more defensively, and I just really think that's what I'm looking for out of my center. I think when you combine Cousins' poor defensive ability with his injury history and the fact that he's coming off a terrible injury right now, I think it's a pretty easily Horford for me.
Why? I don't know. I now that you've made the argument, now that I'm fully committed to Al's top 3 center, but I do want to.
I thought it was top 3, but go ahead. Yeah.
But I do think that that DeMarcus's career has gone such a different direction that if you gave him a blank slate and gave him to Stevens as a rookie, he'd be just way different now, I think. And I don't know. I wish we get a way to redo that. Maybe. I don't know.
Not necessarily, because don't forget, a big part of Stevens' success is that Ainge gives him guys that he can work with.
Right.
Ainge doesn't give him, and Cousins had a year or two where he was in control under Mike Malone, and besides that, we just haven't seen it.
Right.
And it might be too far down the road at this point.
I think it's too late.
I mean, well, what's good though is he's in a situation where if he's causing problems in the locker room like he's done in the past, if he's being disrespectful to staff like he's done in the past, Steve Kerr's going to go tell him that he's gone. Steve Kerr's going to kick him off the team. There's no question. Steve Kerr will literally go to Bob Myers, tell him, I'm cutting DeMarcus Cousins. We're cutting him right now. And they'll do it without hesitation.
All right. Well, this is the perfect transition right here. And I can't let it go to waste.
Yep.
So speaking of cutting, in Boston's historic North End, the place for cutting is Boston's Barber and Tattoo Company. They become home to A-list Boston celebrities like the Boston Celtics' own Gordon Hayward and Kelly Aaron Baines. Boston Barber and Tattoo is more than just Boston's well-known corner barbershop. It's also a tourist attraction for the hundreds of thousands of people that visit the North End throughout the year. Go to Boston Barber and Tattoo, a North End landmark that represents the cultural epicenter of the area at its core, located at 113 Salem Street. That's Boston Barber and Tattoo Company. All right. I think we're all kind of coalescing to the same point here, that what Al Horford brings is steadiness and stability. But I think also in the playoffs, and we're sort of looking at this now with a bit of a playoff lens as we did in the Kyrie pod. Unlike guys like DeMarcus Cousins or Nikola Jokic or Karl Anthony Towns, you can't really scheme so much for Al Horford to drive him off the floor or really to exploit his weaknesses because, frankly, he has none. And that might be his ultimate strength there. So, I agree with you. Draymond Green would probably be ahead of him. Joel Embiid, I'd probably put ahead of him, too. He's just a great two-way player. Gobert's an interesting one. We haven't mentioned LaMarcus Aldridge in that group.
I like Al better there defensively. That's why. That's the only reason why I'm not going to LaMarcus.
He's more versatile there too. And
like
I'd put him above. Yeah, I put him above LaMarcus. I'd put him above Jokic. I'd put him above Towns. I just think that in the playoffs, I feel more comfortable having Al Horford on my team if I want to make a deep run.
I think Towns is the one that I go back to and I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this, but Towns has to show me the defense. And if he doesn't show me the defense, then I can't. And I'm like, what was going on with him in the playoffs this year? There was a point where
I think
what was that?
So one, there's some sort of, it seemed like there was some sort of fissure between him and the Tibbs Butler, confluence of
Right.
leadership there. There were concerns that he wasn't in good shape. I think is a big part of it. He was getting left on an island. He was kind of playing his offensive role seemed like a mediocre man's Horford. Like he was kind of playing a similar style to what Horford's role is, where he was kind of passive. But Horford, even though he's passive a lot of the time, finds ways to kind of inject himself into the game. And Towns was struggling so much for that. Towns just kind of found himself waiting in the corner to shoot threes a lot of the time. He would get doubled in the post, and it was a total disaster. Towns, it's like Towns and Jokic, and then. No, I would put Gobert ahead of him. But like Towns and Jokic, I guess, are the two guys where those guys, they're still inconsistent because of their age. I would say overall, at their best, they're better than Horford, even though they're both mediocre defensive players at this point. Their offense is just so unstoppable. I would give them that. And I think they hit that high mark enough throughout the year in general that I would rank them ahead of Horford. But we haven't seen, they just don't have a body of work yet in the playoffs. And it's hard, at least with Towns, we've been able to see how it goes. We haven't really seen it for Jokic yet. Jokic is just such an insane offensive player. I would put him ahead of Horford. So, we got 5 guys there. Gobert was unbelievable offensively and defensively in the second half of the season. I would put him ahead of Horford, I think, at this point. So that's about 6 or 7. I think it gets really tricky, really, when you get to Clint Capella and Marc Gasol. So Gasol is still really good. I kind of had him a little bit ahead of Horford coming into this year, but this year was just a really ugly season. But so much of that was just the context of the Grizzlies, him being pissed off that the Grizzlies were being crappy this year. So, that I would give Horford the edge now just because of the way that the season went. And then Capella is the toughest one because Capella was incredible in the playoffs. I mean, at least his first couple rounds was unbelievable. He is the best rim runner in the NBA right now, besides Embiid, probably. Is that right? Maybe Gobert?
I mean, DeAndre Jordan is still probably the best alley finisher.
Yeah, but like overall rim runner, more than that. It's not just the alley-oop. I think Capella's, and we should make it clear, when you say that, it's also accounting for who's giving him the ball. So, I think his dives to the hoop are going to be more effective most of the time than Jordan getting fed from whomever was feeding him, like Lou Williams last year, or Avery Bradley, those guys.
Milos for a bit.
Yeah, that's right. Milos. Oh God, I miss Milos.
I do too.
Yeah, so Capella, and then his defense was incredible. He was an unbelievable rim stopper, good rotator, could take a charge, was really good defending out in space on the 3-point line, which Gobert is also very good at. Horford's still a little bit better at it than those two guys, but those guys are better stopping at the rim than he is. And then defending the post, they're probably, I'd say, the same point. I mean, Horford's is an elite post defender. I mean, the stuff that he does against Joel Embiid is pretty incredible, which I don't think anybody else in the NBA defends Embiid as well as he does. So, Capella, I think Capella and Horford are really neck and neck. Horford probably gets the edge just because he is such a holistic part of the offense, while Capella, his role in the offense is kind of limited. He's great at what he does, but he's really a one-dimensional, 1.5-dimensional offensive player, while Horford is a 3-dimensional offensive player. And frankly, just the value, even if he doesn't have the extreme output like guys like Towns and Jokic do, he at least has the 3 dimensions of offense that they have that make him so effective.
Right.
So I decided I have Horford 4th. I think we're in a bit of disagreement, Jared, me and you, when it comes to. So I just feel like his perimeter defense is so extremely valuable in today's NBA, particularly in the playoffs with teams downsizing. All right, Evan, where do you stand? Give me a number for Horford.
I'm in the same boat. I went like 3 with DeMarcus. I bumped him down a little bit, but I mean, the only 2 guys I can definitively say that are better than him are Embiid and Davis, and they're like everybody else I can kind of pick at a little bit.